Today I'm going to be making a video on fighters who are one good win away from a title shot. And look at this lineup that we have here to get us going. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of Clay Guida, Michael Johnson, Nico Price, Jun Young Park, and especially Rogerio Bontorin in Flyweight. You guys know the deal. We're going to get right into the list. The first pick is going to be Corey Sandhagen. The entire thing that prompted me to make this video was his performance against Davison Figueiredo last night. Corey Sandhagen is the Grim Reaper of knee ligaments. He's a mainstay of the rankings, and it's been this way since before he fought Aljo, and that was like in 2020 during COVID. Our friend Corey only lacks finishes though, and that's the reason why he's been a title contender that's been staying on the outside of getting the belt. Whenever he had opportunities to get it in his wins, they've just been by unanimous or split decisions. So he couldn't really petition for the belt over guys who were winning in pure striking matches or actually knocking people out or subbing them. So you could really refer to Corey Sandhagen as more of like a title gatekeeper at Bantamweight. And it's been this way since pretty much the Aljo fight happened. He has losses to Peter Yan, Umar Nurmagomedov, and also TJ Dillashaw. And these are all fights that would have solidified his title shot in the past. Jan and TJ would have basically just given him an opportunity to rematch Aljo, which I'm not sure how that fight would have went if he had another opportunity to do it. If he would have beat Umar, that would have been a Merab fight waiting for him. He basically just has to win rematches no matter what at this point. If you do look at him in the rankings, except for O'Malley, everybody above him in the rankings at number 4 is somebody that he's already fought, and except for the champion too. So 2 of the people above him he's fought, 2 of the people above him he hasn't fought. So the O'Malley fight is going to be there. I'm not sure when it's going to happen or what it will take the shape of, whether it'll be for a title eliminator or for the belt if Sean O'Malley does end up beating Merab. But he'd likely need to fight with Peter Yan again in order to get there. So once he does, he probably gets 49-46 by Merab. But Corey Sandhagen is closer than he's ever been to getting that title shot. He's just got to keep doing what he's been doing, and whenever the opportunity comes, he has to produce a really big moment in the cage in order to make it himself undeniable. Manel Kape is going to be the next entry. I started with Bantamweight since it's more relevant to what we just saw last night, but we'll talk about Flyweight now. It's going to be Manel Kape in this division. He's defeating contenders with various rankings like Asu Amabayev and Bruno Silva, and he's also finishing these fights too. These are both wins by TKO. His loss to Muhammad Mokaev did actually hurt him very badly as far as his path to the title went. He takes like 8 to 12 months during his fights randomly. He might just be ridden with like injuries that he has to address whenever he's not fighting, but right now he's consistently active and he's being match made with Brandon Royval for June 28th. I think that is International Fight Week. So UFC 317 he'll be fighting then. He really only needs to win in order to qualify for the next title shot. Since there is a logjam in this division, he has already lost to Pantoja though, so if we're going to really dissect how this fight does go, probably just like the first one does. He gets controlled in moments where the striking is pretty even, but the grappling is going to be the equalizer that leans things towards Pantoja in his favor. And we'll see how he's developed, but that clinical kickboxing on Alexandre just may be still too much for him. Tracking his path to the title may be more interesting than doing the same thing for somebody like Brandon Royval, since we just watch him get beat up by Pantoja, but we're going to see how things end up shaking out for him. I think that this is the guy though. And this is not the guy, but the organization wants you to think that this is the guy. They've been dying to build hype around Yair for a Spanish-speaking viewer base for years. Years they've been trying to take him to Mexico and try to get hype around Yair and get him to belt, and they've made custom belts for him. That's why he's been ranked so high for so long. And I just mentioned before, they made that Coco interim belt for him before he fought Volk. And he's a fun and interesting striker, but his finishing abilities are diminishing over time, it seems like. And he's more of a point fighter, as to where you can put somebody like Patricio Pitbull in front of him, who's just going to stand and watch him do like setups like from the kicking range and kick his legs and kick his body and kick his head, and he still can't finish these fights, dude. So my thing with Yair is, he's a fun and interesting striker. Whenever he does finish fights, we get moments like Chen Sung-jung versus Yair Rodriguez, and that's one of the greatest knockouts of all time. We've seen this guy max out against the current champ Volkanovski. He got dominated in that fight at a certain point. It was competitive in the striking maybe for like 3.5 minutes, and then the takedown started coming, the clinch started happening, and then Yair just kind of melted. But if he can show that he's refined his game by beating Diego Lopez, and if he can finish him especially, he would be shown favoritism because the UFC organization already likes him and they think he's a draw, which if he can consistently produce brilliant knockouts, he would be. So my prediction is he wins a fight against Diego Lopez. If he does, he gets nuked by Volk in a rematch. And it's crazy how highly I speak of this man now. He went from a random guy from Liverpool who talks money to a serious contender for the belt. He's collected one Infinity Stone from the Gaethje Chandler Poirier Trinity. And if he can get a second one from maybe Gaethje, because he's not going to be able to beat Dustin Poirier because he's going to retire. If Paddy Pimblett can beat Gaethje or Charles Oliveira, he will be able to lobby for a title shot with more fan interest, and the organization will probably give it to him because they want to build another McGregor. They've been dying for that too. A win over Max Holloway would do a lot for him as well, since Max Holloway is ranked number 4, especially if he beats Dustin Poirier and then he fights Paddy Pimblett, which I'm not sure how that would make sense, but this is a very dangerous fight for Paddy because Max Holloway, out of all of the active fighters in the top rankings in lightweight, is probably the most dangerous striker out of all of them. Void Ilia Topuria, who I'm still convinced is probably better than everyone. I would put Ilia Topuria in the spot, but he's going to fight for the belt immediately. So I would prefer it to be this way. I thought they might have him do a number 1 contender fight since they stripped him of the title, but I think that he's just going to go and challenge Islam immediately, which nobody's complaining about that. As far as Islam versus Paddy, if that's the way that things do shake out whenever he does make it to the belt, I think it's probably a close fight because the grappling isn't going to be super one-sided for either of them, but he probably loses a decision. If Ilia Topuria is who he meets whenever he gets to the belt, this is an entirely different fight for him, and it's very scary, to be honest. I think that he gets his chin blown off into Saturn. At the beginning of this year in welterweight, we had like 9 different contenders who could have been title challengers. Now we have 4 who are the big 4. This is the big 4 in welterweight. We have Shavkat, Sean Brady, Joaquin Buckley, and Ian Gary. And as far as Shavkat and Sean Brady goes, I think they should be match made with each other. This is a good fight for Shavkat's return from injury. These guys are next in line for the belt because of the fact that Sean Brady has just choked out Leon Edwards and Shavkat has just beaten Ian Gary, which that's a very good win in this division. That's probably the best win that anybody has in the division right now, is a win over Ian Gary, even if it was by decision. Shavkat was even hurt in that fight too, and he still won. It was just a bad fight, but it means a lot. So Shavkat definitely has a lot of merit as far as the title goes. So does Sean Brady. And I said they have equal rights to this title shot, so they should fight each other. I don't think either of their last performances were worthy of a title shot, even though they were both pretty good with some context. As far as Buckley versus Ian Gary goes, I think that if Usman does get chinned by Buckley, like I'm thinking will happen, that doesn't get him a title shot, even if it's a brutal knockout. And neither does a decision win over Carlos Prates for Ian Gary either. Buckley must beat Usman in order for this fight to take place, but the winner of Shavkat versus Brady would already be challenging Bilal or JDM by this time. So as far as the timeline, I think that it works perfectly. Both of the winners of both of these fights would be able to fight for the belt. The reason why I say Usman wouldn't get Buckley a title shot if he were to knock him out was because, especially if you aren't going to give Sean Brady a title shot for beating the guy who beat Usman twice, you definitely can't give it to Buckley. The craziest part about all this, though, is that all these fighters may lose to Bilal, and that's an actual thing that we must weigh whenever we're considering matchups for the title and where the belt lies right now. It may be safe in Bilal's hands, and he may just deal with all these fighters comfortably. We don't know. The next fighter, and I apologize, Randy Ritter, I was unfamiliar with your game, and I am going to put a lot of stake in the fact that he just beat up Bo Nickel. The UFC has been doing a lot of promoting and building up of Shar Bullet and Bo Nickel, while RDR has just been speedrunning the entire organization. He called for Strickland after defeating Bo Nickel, and he might actually win this fight, dude. A better one, I believe, would be against Kyle Borralho because they're both genetic freaks for this weight class. They're both very large fighters. Dricus, RDR, and Kyle Borralho are all so large, and I feel like people don't realize how big these fighters are until they're actually in the cage fighting with him. And if he wins via any type of finish against Kyle Borralho, he would be next up for a title shot, no doubt. I'm sorry for all the typos throughout this presentation, honestly. Like, I'm very tired right now. This is the second upload of the day. I honestly shouldn't be making excuses for the quality of the videos, but I normally would know how to spell. I'm just running on E right now. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I would say RDR's frame is his greatest asset, with compounded with his skill on the ground and in the clinch. Dricus may be better than him everywhere, but this would be a Dutch classic if they fought. I'm not making any predictions. I just want the UFC to do what is required so that he may get to the title and fight with DDP, because I'm very interested in seeing that fight happen. Carlos Ulberg is the next installment for light heavyweight. I come from a time where beating Jan Blachowicz put you at the front of the line for the belt. Jan Blachowicz' clout is expired though, and Ulberg will still need one more fight in order to get to the belt. He is the last hope for this division's champion, being a fun striker if Pereira can't get to that strap. So they could give him a fight with the winner of Jamal Hill or Khalil Roundtree Jr., depending on who wins that fight. Rakic is also there, and if he can knock that guy out, he'd have to be given a title shot. Ankalaev probably gives him a wrathful monkey death, though. He hasn't displayed stark ability on the ground to where I'd be like, oh yeah, Ankalaev doesn't ragdoll this guy because he demonstrates X, Y, or Z. There's nothing that I can point to be like, yeah, Carlos Ulberg is a competent enough grappler to stay off of the ground or the cage against Ankalaev. Wrathful monkey death. The next contender for heavyweight, and will be the final contender that we're going to talk about, is going to be Alexander Volkov. This is actually when you push Volkov towards the title, because realistically, he did not lose his last fight, and he is 36 years old, so depending on how his career goes from here, he may only have one more opportunity left to fight for the belt. The question is, what belt would he be fighting for? Would it be Tom Aspinall's interim belt, or would it be John Jones' actual belt? Or Tom Aspinall's actual belt if they unify before he can challenge? Please God, anything but another Cyril Gane championship fight in heavyweight. I'm so tired of him being the sole contender who champions either challenge for the belt in its vacancy, because that happens a lot here, or as their first defense just because he's kind of good. Volkov already lost to Aspinall in what some people, me, consider to be Tom Aspinall's greatest performance. If he did run it back with him, unless he's completely transformed himself, which Volkov, he just raises output a little bit more. As far as fundamentals and technique goes, he's pretty much the same. I think the same outcome would be had from this fight if it did take place on another day. John Jones would beat up Volkov too, in my opinion. On paper, he will never make it to UFC champion. One thing that he could do to solidify himself is actually just have the Cyril Gane rematch. I know that neither fighter would probably be down for it, and it wouldn't really make much sense on an actual event, but that's actually what should happen, because that was a blatant robbery on the last fight card. Cyril Gane did not deserve that win, and it doesn't move him forward at all. And in my opinion, I think that Volkov should have an opportunity to avenge that loss immediately. And they've done it before with like the Johnny Walker and Ankalaev stuff. Let this be like the same thing, and just reschedule the fight. So those are going to be my picks for fighters who are one good win away from getting back to the title, or getting to the title if they've never been there. Worst tattoos in the UFC is going up right now. Thank you guys for the support that you're showing. Everyone new that subscribed, welcome. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you made it to this point in the video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful day.